Hello everyone, Jonathan Rayner here with you again. They tried to erase your name, steal what was yours, rewrite history in their favor, but destiny does not bow to deception. The unseen has been waiting, aligning every piece, preparing you for this moment. You are not just a bystander in this story. You are the reckoning. Every attempt to silence the truth only made it louder. Every stolen document, every false claim, every whisper in the dark is unraveling, and the weight of justice is shifting back to where it belongs. They thought they could hide, that no one would notice, that their schemes would stand unchallenged. But the unseen does not forget. The universe does not lose what was divinely inscribed in your name. What was taken is already on its way back to you, not through chance, not by luck, but through an unstoppable force that has been waiting for the right moment to strike. You are not here by accident. You were always meant to rise. You were always meant to reclaim. The doors that were once closed will not just open, they will break under the force of what was always destined to be yours. The time has come, and this time the world will know your name. No shadow stretches endlessly, and no secret vanishes without a trace. What was taken unjustly leaves an imprint, a disturbance in the order that demands reckoning. Those who believe themselves beyond reach do not stand in silence forever. The whisper of revelation gathers strength, pressing against the walls they built to contain it. Truth does not rest in obscurity. It sharpens, it waits, it finds the hand willing to wield it. The moment is never random. It is an alignment, a force answering transgression with precision. There is no disappearance, no erasure. What was hidden is merely waiting to be seen, and when it emerges, it does not falter. The illusion of invulnerability collapses, not by accident, but because deception is never a fortress, only a delay. There is no imitation of destiny, no counterfeit strong enough to overwrite what was inscribed into existence. They may reach, they may weave illusions, but the essence of what is rightfully held cannot be fractured or rewritten. It does not yield to deception, nor does it slip into the hands of those who seek to claim what was never theirs. Inheritance is not a sum, not an object. It is a resonance, an undeniable signature etched beyond the grasp of fraud. Attempts to possess it without alignment are not victories but self-inflicted curses, weights that cannot be carried without consequence. The fabric of existence does not mistake its own. Misappropriated power turns against its wielder, unraveling from within. That which is stolen does not become owned. It becomes a burden, an echo of what should have been but never will be. The pursuit of what was never meant for them does not grant them dominion. It seals their descent. Illusions do not endure, and false authority does not command permanence. What is displaced does not remain so. It calls to its rightful place, and in time, the balance restores itself with relentless certainty. No deception is seamless, no forgery flawless. Every false claim carries within it the seed of its own destruction. What is written in falsehood does not escape scrutiny, and no structure built upon lies holds against the weight of time. Documents betray their architects, inconsistencies fracture the facade, and what was once presented as absolute is dismantled piece by piece. The unraveling does not happen in haste. It unfolds with intention, with precision, with the certainty that no deception lasts indefinitely. The hands that signed in deceit will find the ink does not remain loyal, and the very proof of their misdeeds will rise against them when they least expect it. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, now is the time to let that love shine. By clicking the super thank you button and giving $20 or more, you're not just supporting this platform, you're planting seeds of faith that will touch countless lives. Your generosity is a reflection of God's abundance, a gift that echoes beyond what you can see. Step into your purpose. Be a vessel of His grace. Give with faith and watch His kingdom flourish through you. You were made for more. There is no lock that holds forever, no concealment so perfect that it evades revelation indefinitely. The force of truth is not passive. It moves, it seeks, it waits for the precise moment when its impact will be inescapable. The moment of recognition was not random. Something beyond reason guided the gaze, urging attention toward the detail that should not have been overlooked. The weight of deception strains against the fabric of reality, unable to endure under the scrutiny of those attuned to what is real. Exposure is not merely the result of detection, but the consequence of arrogance. They constructed their facade believing themselves untouchable, blind to the inevitable unraveling woven into their own actions. A falsified claim is not just ink on paper. It is a tether to the choices that created it, an echo of intent that does not dissolve upon being signed. To forge truth is to carve one's own reckoning. Each false mark a step toward the collapse they refuse to foresee. What is meant to surface does not remain submerged. No force can suppress the inevitable shift once the chain of revelation has been set in motion. The moment proof is placed into the hands of those with the resolve to act, the trajectory of justice is no longer in question. Unstoppable, irreversible, absolute. Uncertainty was their first shield, a whispered justification that what they saw was insignificant, that anomalies were mere errors to be dismissed. But truth does not yield to hesitation. It presses against the confines of denial, urging confrontation. What began as a routine obligation, a passing observation, transforms into something far greater. A summons to dismantle the corruption that once seemed distant. An obligation no longer avoidable. They entered that space an observer. They left it with the weight of an unfolding reckoning pressing against their very existence. Every act of exposure is preceded by a moment of rupture, an instant where silence is no longer sustainable. The realization is never gradual. It arrives like a fracture splitting through perception, an irreversible break between what was known before and what cannot be unseen. The world they operated within is no longer the same. What once felt stable becomes untenable, distorted under the weight of undeniable awareness. This is not just about legality, not just about policy. It is about alignment with forces that do not permit deception to thrive indefinitely. Indifference is a choice, but neutrality is an illusion. To recognize wrongdoing and remain motionless is to become part of it. There is no mistake in who is given sight. If they bore witness, it was because they were meant to act. To step forward is to risk. To speak is to disrupt. But to remain silent is a far greater price, a weight that festers, that corrodes, that refuses to be ignored. The path was not chosen by them. It was laid before them, and in the instant they crossed it, they were no longer merely an observer, an employee, a witness. They became a force woven into something far greater. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. Matthew 7 verses 24 to 26. They built their empire like a house on sand, shiny on the surface, convincing in appearance, but weak at the foundation. They stacked lie upon lie, deal upon deal, believing that as long as no one questioned, as long as no one looked too closely, their structure would stand. But a house built on deception cannot withstand the storm. And make no mistake, the storm is coming. You see, truth doesn't whisper. Truth doesn't negotiate. Truth doesn't ask for permission to enter the room. It moves like a tidal wave, unstoppable, undeniable, washing away every false foundation, leaving nothing but what is real. They thought they could outrun it, outmaneuver it, rewrite the narrative before it reached them. But truth has a way of waiting, and when it arrives, there is no room left for deception to hide. This isn't just about justice. This is about divine timing. Because corruption does not fall in an instant. It crumbles piece by piece, moment by moment, as the weight of its own deception turns against it. They made their choices long ago. Every forged signature, every whispered bribe, every deal struck in secrecy, they were laying the bricks of their own downfall, brick by brick, choice by choice. And now the weight is too much to bear because what they never understood is that the unseen is always watching. The records they thought were erased were never truly gone. The lies they wove into contracts, the hidden transactions, the falsified accounts, every single one was marked, recorded, waiting for the moment to be revealed. One truth does not emerge alone. It pulls others into its wake, unraveling the very foundation they thought unshakable. What was buried resurfaces, not through chance, but through the force of inevitability. The ones who swore loyalty to secrecy will not stand united. They will fracture, betray, scramble to save themselves, not out of regret, but out of fear. Watch how the web they wove collapses under the weight of exposure. How their once unshakable certainty turns into desperation. There are no final erasures, no perfect disappearances. They may destroy files, silence witnesses, rewrite records, but truth is not bound to their destruction. It lingers in unseen places, tucked away in the overlooked, waiting in the hands of those they never considered a threat. It does not fade, it multiplies, finding the one crack that will shatter everything. No act of concealment is flawless. The more they scramble to erase, the clearer the path to revelation becomes. What belongs to you will not be lost. If you are meant to hold knowledge, it will reach you at the exact moment it is needed. What they thought erased was never truly gone. Conversations leave impressions, agreements leave traces, every deception leaves an imprint that cannot be undone. The truth they sought to bury will not stay silent. It will resurface in the most damning way possible, through hands they never accounted for, through records they failed to destroy, through the very arrogance that convinced them they had succeeded. They will witness the collapse they swore would never come, unable to stop the flood they unknowingly set into motion. And you have always known. Not from delusion, not from ego, but from the immutable force moving within you. They call it intent, but what they truly fear is recognition. They sense it in you, the inevitability of their downfall. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, it's time to answer it by clicking the join button. You unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community ready to walk this journey with you. This isn't just a membership. It's an awakening, a chance to stay fully in your divine purpose and claim the path meant for you. Don't wait. Step forward, join the chosen. Deception is never weightless. Those who built their lives upon falsehoods convinced themselves that silence will shield them, that complicity will hold their foundation firm. But truth is a force that does not yield. It corrodes from within, unraveling certainty, dismantling the illusion they worked so hard to maintain. There is no need for an external hand to bring them down. Their own conscience will carve the path to destruction. Each lie they have spoken lingers, pressing against the fragile walls of self-deception, whispering the reality they refuse to confront. They do not sleep in peace. They wake to the echoes of their own betrayal, the weight of their own signals, the suffocating presence of what they thought was buried. Control turns to chaos. Power begins to feel like a cage. The unraveling does not begin with an accusation or an exposure. It begins the moment they realize they cannot outrun themselves. No wealth, no influence, no distraction is potent enough to silence the unrest within. Guilt is not a feeling. It is a force that seeps into every corner of their existence, twisting every victory into a reminder of what they have stolen. They do not need to be told that their downfall is coming. They already feel it. Every conversation unsettles them. Every glance seems like a threat. They are haunted not by an external enemy but by the inevitability of their own ruin. This is not vengeance. It is equilibrium reasserting itself. The body, the mind, the very energy they operate within rejects what was never rightfully theirs. They try to suppress the truth, to rewrite their narrative, to force the past into submission. But reality is not so easily silenced. What they have done will not stay in shadows. It will replay endlessly, tightening around them until they are left with only two choices: confession or collapse. The reckoning was never an accident. No stray detail is meaningless. No misplaced document irrelevant. Every fragment of truth finds its way to the right hands at the right time. Corruption survives in isolation, thriving on the illusion of secrecy. But justice operates on a scale far beyond human comprehension. A chance remark, an overlooked inconsistency, an unnoticed file, all independent events until the moment they align with unstoppable precision. What they thought was coincidence was, in truth, the architecture of their own undoing. Exposure does not require force. Truth is not passive, nor does it require effort to be seen. It has a gravity of its own, drawing those who need to know exactly where to look when the moment comes. Those who schemed will find themselves entangled in their own contradictions, caught not by external pursuit, but by the consequences of their own arrogance. They will misstep, trust the wrong person, leave behind what they once thought was insignificant. The whispers they dismissed will multiply. The records they altered will resurface. What was once overlooked will be read again, this time by eyes that understand its significance. There is no singular witness. There are many. No singular revelation, only an accumulation too heavy to ignore. Justice is not an isolated event. It is a chain reaction, an inevitability that builds with each passing moment. They will call it misfortune, a cruel twist of fate, an uncalculated mistake. But those who understand will know better. Timing is not random. Exposure is not luck. The unraveling began long before they ever saw it coming, and by the time they recognize it, it will be far too late to stop. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Luke 8 verse 17, there is no fortress built on deception that will not one day crumble. They thought they were safe behind walls of secrecy, but walls do not make them untouchable. Walls make them prisoners. They stacked bricks of manipulation, cemented them with greed, believing that if they built high enough, they could escape the weight of truth. But deception is a house with a cracked foundation, and no matter how tall they built, no matter how many floors of falsehoods they added, the structure was never sound. It was never meant to last. Because truth, my friend, is not weak. It is not timid. It does not knock at the door asking for permission. Truth is a storm that shatters barriers, a flood that rushes through every hidden corridor, leaving no corner untouched. And when it moves, it does not move alone. It brings justice with it. Every hidden ledger, every falsified document, every whispered lie scribbled into legal contracts, none of it will hold against the force that is coming. They built their empire on shifting sand, and now the ground beneath them is beginning to slide. The system they relied on, the same tangled web of loopholes they thought would keep them safe, is turning against them. The policies they weaponized to stall accountability are now the very clauses catching them in their own trap. The precedents they ignored are rising back up, sharper than a double-edged sword, cutting straight through their schemes. And the very people they counted on to protect them are backing away, pretending they were never involved, trying to escape the collapse that they know is coming. Because when the Lord decides it is time for justice, He does not whisper. He roars. He does not ask for permission. He declares, and what has been hidden in darkness will be brought into the light, not as a gentle unveiling but as a reckoning. And listen, this was never about coincidence. It was never about luck. It was never about a simple turn of events. This is divine alignment. This is the moment that was always meant to come. This is the unveiling that was promised long before they ever thought they could take what was never theirs to begin with. They thought they were writing their own fate, crafting their own destiny. But what they never understood is that the script was never theirs to control. They were always running on borrowed time. The ledgers are open. The records are speaking. And the weight of every stolen thing is pressing down upon them. This is not the work of men alone. This is the hand of something greater, something immovable, something that does not make mistakes. And when it strikes, it does not miss. There is no permanence in possession when what is held was never truly theirs. No deception, no loophole, no contract signed in secrecy can overwrite what was always meant to return. The weight of stolen things does not settle. It disrupts, corrupts, weakens those who try to claim it as their own. They do not carry what they believe they have taken. They carry the consequences of its theft. And in time, what was seized will slip through their grasp, unraveling in ways they cannot predict. What they dismissed as minor details will become undeniable patterns, the gaps in their control widening with every failed attempt to hold on. It will not be fate, nor coincidence, nor misfortune. It will be the force of correction, deliberate, inescapable. They will call it unfair, but deep within they will recognize it for what it is. The cost of dishonesty is not merely exposure. It is the erosion of everything they built upon it. What was diverted was never truly lost. There is no finality in absence, only a pause before the return. The process of restoration is not a request. It is a certainty, a force that does not require permission. What was withheld will resurface, carried through channels they never foresaw, through opportunities they never intended, through doors they never expected to open. The assets they hoarded will bleed away. Their false stability will crumble, and what they manipulated to their advantage will turn against them with ruthless precision. The unraveling is not sudden. It is incremental, a gradual reclamation, a systematic reversal of what was once obscured. The cycle is inevitable. What does not belong to them will reject them, and what was meant for another will always find its way home. This is not a wish, not a gamble. It is a mechanism as old as time, untouched by deception, unmoved by resistance. The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Proverbs 13 verse 22, there's a truth older than time itself. What is meant for you cannot be stolen, only delayed. They thought they could take what wasn't theirs, hide it under layers of deception, bury it under contracts and offshore accounts, disguise it under false names and forged signatures. But what they didn't understand is that wealth is not just numbers on a ledger, not just a title on a document. Wealth carries a signature, an imprint, a divine mark that cannot be erased. You see, when something is marked as yours, it moves through time and space with a purpose. No matter how far they try to take it, no matter how deep they try to bury it, what belongs to you will always seek its way back. And not just in the way they took it, but multiplied, purified, restored beyond measure. Because the Lord does not return things in the condition they were stolen. He returns them pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And the best part? You don't even have to chase it. They built their false security on deception, but deception is like a dam with cracks. Small at first, unnoticed. But over time the pressure builds. A contract here, a missing document there, a whistleblower who wasn't supposed to speak, but suddenly finds their voice. And then it happens, the dam bursts. Everything they tried to keep locked away comes rushing out, revealing every hidden thing in broad daylight. The very systems they trusted to keep them safe will turn against them. The paper trails they thought were erased will resurface. A file they meant to destroy will land in the wrong hands at the right time. And they'll call it bad luck. They'll call it a coincidence. But you'll know exactly what it is. Because there is a law in the spirit, an unshakable principle that says nothing taken unjustly will ever prosper. The money they stole won't stay in their hands. The success they built on fraud will crumble beneath their feet. The doors they slammed shut in your face will be flung open with a force they never saw coming. They thought they were untouchable. But there is no hiding from divine justice. There is no loophole that can outmaneuver what has already been set into motion. And right now, as you stand here, things are shifting. Alignments are happening. The weight of every stolen thing is pressing down, and the transfer has already begun. The wealth of the wicked is not theirs to keep. The inheritance they tried to claim was never theirs, and the moment is coming sooner than they think. When what was meant for you will be placed right back into your hands, they will watch helpless as their empire unravels, and you will step forward, unshaken, unbothered, knowing that justice was never in question, only timing. Because what was marked as yours was never lost. It was simply waiting for the right moment to return. And now that moment is here. Nothing taken unjustly remains beyond reach. Every fraudulent claim, every dishonest contract, every attempt to erase a rightful legacy carries a signature that cannot be overwritten. The system they trusted to protect their deception will betray them. What they manipulated for their gain will twist against them. What they concealed will unravel before their eyes. A miscalculation here, an unguarded word there, an anomaly in a system they once controlled. It all moves toward the same outcome. The truth does not fade. The weight of stolen things becomes unbearable, drawing exposure like an inevitable tide. What was yours was never beyond reclamation. It was not lost. It was momentarily misplaced, waiting for the moment when its return would carry the full weight of justice. Every delay, every obstacle, every attempt to sever you from what was meant for you has only ensured that its restoration will be undeniable, irreversible. The fractures in their foundation have already begun. What they gripped so tightly is already slipping away, drawn back by forces beyond their understanding. Absence was never emptiness. It was preparation. The lessons, the clarity, the unshakable knowing that emerged from the struggle were never proof of defeat. They were proof of what was always meant to be reclaimed. This is not about restoration alone. This is about ascension. You are not simply stepping back into what was yours. You are walking into something far greater, something refined through every challenge, something fortified by every attempt to deny you. They believed they had the power to rewrite your story, but now they must witness the truth unfold before them. Nothing stolen remains in stolen hands. What was yours was never theirs to keep, and the time has come for the return. Not as it was, but as it was meant to be, amplified, transformed, carrying the full weight of divine alignment. The force that has carried you this far has already spoken. Now it is your time to speak, to claim, to move forward, to let your presence bear witness to what cannot be undone.